Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dean Witherspoon, and I, in between Taorminas. Well, here we are for another rousing edition of Between Taorminas. I'm joined by Huron County's finest, Salvatore Sam Taormina, also former Oakland University men's basketball manager, Anthony A-Train Taormina. Boys, how are we doing today?
Good, very good.
You know, girls, I think, dig this look.
Girls do dig that look.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on today's episode, we're going to be speaking about Tim Tebow and the Detroit Lions, a little World Series recap for you, and some Lake Orion playoff recap. They are out, so we're going to recap the playoff game and their season. Maybe look forward to next year a little bit. All right?
Yep.
Let's start off with Tebow. Let's start off with Lions. They're going into the bye week. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy the past few weeks with the Lions. This week was no different. Good versus evil. Tim Tebow, Sioux, Lions, kind of their new persona. But let's start off with Tebow. Let's start off with Ant. Ant, thoughts on the game?
Nice bounce back for the Lions. You know,
Road victory.
it was going to be, you know, the Lions needed this game to bounce back. They played a really good game, especially on the defense. The offense clicked.
Yep.
You know, Tebow, for all the hype, you know, he really got, let's just quote, he got Tebowed.
Yep.
And, you know, it made a lot of press with the good versus evil with the Lions. I think that, you know, in Detroit, you're so used to having the bad boy mentality. You look at the Pistons, you know. So I don't think the Lions worry about that. Obviously, there was a lot of, you know, the press is hyping up Tim Tebow the way that he is.
Yep.
And I'm just glad that that he got Tebowed this week big time and got a wake-up call and dose of reality.
Good. Sam.
Well, they hype up Denver so much, you know what I mean? Because you bring in Tim Tebow, a high draft pick, I believe 24th overall.
24th,
Denver had to
26th.
trade up to get him. But anyway, on the game, I thought this was more about the Lions and, of course, Denver's mistakes. If you look at it, you know, what the Lions defense did, you know, they took a 100-yard touchdown back, and then you have a Clint Abel touchdown. But if you look at it from that perspective, you know, Lions played what normally good teams do. They go out, they had a nice bounce back game from losing 2 in a row, and of course you got to see what. And of course, this in my opinion is a playoff team, and they look like one.
Good. So let's build on that, the whole bad boy thing, the bad boy mentality. Are you in favor of it? Do you think it hinders anything with the Lions, or?
I don't think it hinders anything at all. If you look at the Lions, I think that they, you know, I don't think they mind being called the bad boys.
Right.
I think that, you know, a lot of Detroit fans can relate to that model. I mean, the view of good and evil, it's just really an interpretation.
Right. That's just something to build press.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just think that, you know, the good versus evil thing, it's just, I think it's so overblown. But that's how much the press really, particularly you look at ESPN, you look at Fox, they want to hype up Tim Tebow the way that they do, and the only press that's, you know, that's really criticizing it is the Detroit press, which, you know, I don't blame them for it because, I mean, the Lions are, you know, are who they cover, and that's just.
Well,
Sam, you dig it.
I like it because, like, you have the Lions, of course, they're like the bad boys, you know what I mean? You got Sue, Van den Bosch, you know, like, and all that crew, you know what I mean? I mean, if you look at it,
fairly soon to
from
be,
that
hopefully.
Perspective, you don't want to see this defense. I'm gonna admit,
right?
Even though they're bad against the run, but they proved that they can shut down. They shut down Tim Tebow.
Yep.
He's a very good.
Tim
running
Tebow
quarterback.
is not very good. To
He's
be
not
honest
really
with
good.
you, Tim
Not very
Tebow
good,
is not.
but he was a good running back.
He
But
might
he's
be
a threat
young.
to run. He's a
Yeah,
threat
he's
to
a
make
threat
plays.
to run, but to be honest with you, he's not, he's not a well-established quarterback.
No,
and
not
I
at
think
all.
that he hasn't
No.
really proven that, and I think that he's got a lot of work to do in order, if he wants to become a,
Do you think he can be a good quarterback in the NFL?
no, I really don't think he can.
No.
I
Sam?
think that I think he can play other positions. I just don't think quarterback is his best position. I'm not saying that he's not a leader.
Right.
Because he is a leader.
He's obviously
and
a
he's
leader.
obviously a very, very proud Christian, a very proud evangelical Christian. God bless. And, but, I mean, I just don't think that quarterbacking in the NFL and college are two different things.
Right.
Well,
Sam?
he did get all the Florida hype, you know what I mean? National championships, but I do agree with you on that. I mean, like, I don't think Tebow was ready for the NFL.
Right.
But I think, don't be surprised the next 3 weeks, probably Tebow might get benched in favor of Kyle Orton.
Or Brady Quinn. when he comes back from his injury.
But you still got to look at it. I mean, like, this is who Denver had to deal with. Like, Orton and Quinn are both on one-year contracts. Tebow is probably, I think, maybe 3 more years. So if you look at it from that perspective, if the Tim Tebow experiment fails, then the Broncos are going to have to look at it in the draft.
The Lions and the was it the Dolphins that they played
The Broncos
2 weeks
versus
ago?
Dolphins.
2 weeks ago they played the Falcons.
I mean, they're two very different teams. The Lions are a lot better defense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and he had a great game 2 weeks ago, but against the Lions with that established defense, the way that they are, he's got a lot of work to do.
And the difference between Tebow in college and Tebow in the NFL is, one, he was at Florida. There were a lot of the best, right? Denver don't have a lot of weapons. And in Urban Meyer's system, it was built around Tim Tebow and his skill set. So he was destined to thrive, basically, whereas in Denver, totally different.
I agree.
I do agree on that. I mean, like, I think that if you look at college and pros are so different. You know what I mean? If you look at it from that perspective, and I know Anthony would agree on me with that, is that, I think maybe people should start really focusing in on maybe with this Tim Tebow hype. I think maybe it might be time for Tebow to go.
Maybe to at least move positions. Try something
I
else
agree.
out.
Well, back on the topic of the Lions, I think the Lions got their road win.
They're 4-0 on the road, by the way.
They got a great chance. They got a great chance to rest some players. Particularly Javid Best comes back from concussion. Gives them another week, and I think the Lions are going against their greatest challenge next week, the bye.
The bye and opening up in Chicago after that.
Yep.
When we come back, we're going to talk LO playoffs and what we can expect moving forward here on Between Taorminas.
Did you know that you can watch ONTV on the web? How cool is that? Just surf on over to www.orionontv.org to watch your favorite on-TV show. A service of Orion Neighborhood Television.
Orion Neighborhood Television has been your community connection for the last 20 years. From local concerts and sports to resident-made original programming, we are the voice of Lake Orion. Featuring a large professional studio, ONTV can provide you with the tools you need to make a quality program. Our staff is knowledgeable, friendly, and eager to help with your program success. Your voice, your community, on TV.
Can ONTV really be a part of Orion's history? Can a 100-year-old school be moved and preserved?
ONTV, a part of Orion's history since 1986.
Welcome back to Between Taorminas here on ONTV. Discuss Lions, discuss Tebow, LO playoffs. They're out, lost their first game. What are you guys' thoughts on the game and what went wrong?
It cannot stop the big play. That's the thing. In the playoffs, you have to stop the big play if you want to be successful in the playoffs. The 0-10 team did it, but this group could not figure that out. You know what I mean? They had multiple chances against Harrison, Clarkston, and Walled Lake Central last week, but you got to give credit to Walled Lake Central, you know, for what they did. They had a good game plan in that game. They ran the veer option offense, which is something I said in last week's show, which I think was going to get the Dragons problems because the Dragons have not seen Rochester Adams all year.
You know,
Get that ring in there. Get that ring in the shot. There you go.
as an alum, you know, it hurts. I'm not gonna, if you're a player and you know that this is your last game and you see them cry hard, it's a tough thing. I mean, it's really tough, and I think that they gave it their best. I think that obviously when you lose, you know you can do better. It's just that, it's a hard feeling right now, but it's a life lesson.
Right.
And I told a lot of these seniors this on Friday after, life is like a book. It might be the end of one chapter, but it's the beginning of a new one.
Start a new one. And we're definitely starting a new chapter with the Dragons. We're gonna have to put that one behind us, and you got a new quarterback coming in next year. What are your thoughts on how that will affect this team moving forward?
Well, if you look at it, the quarterback position, it's basically you got Derek DeLauro came back, who's going to come back from a big injury, and then you got two guys in the JV level who I thought were pretty good, and Kyle Bell and Connor Grant. You know what I mean? Because I think what they're going to do is probably move Schenzer, the third quarterback, to go play on defense. You know, the team needs. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at that position, but I know they're going to have to replace the line as well, and I think that, it's going to be all new next year.
Right.
I think a couple things. I think obviously you improve the defensive line. I think that if they can fix the defensive line, they'll have to figure out who's going to be the quarterback next year.
Right.
One thing that I was not too happy with this season that I think could be improved better, I think it's from the fans. I think that the fans did not, I'm not being critical to every one of the fans, but there was a couple of sequences where I was extremely, just not happy with the fans this year. A couple of times,
Give a specific example.
I'll take the Walled Lake Central game when they were talking during the national anthem. That's very disrespectful. You can't, talk during the national anthem. I mean, and I've said this, the thing that separates the men from the boys or the women from the girls is respect. And, Lake Orion's a very classy organization. They always have been. I think another one, too, is, in the fourth quarter, usually back when we were playing football, or, Sammy was, our fans, our low zone, came down during when Lake Orion was winning. They did it during every game, and I thought, if we're tied or if we're losing, you shouldn't be dancing around going crazy, And then the halftime show, all due respect, there was a rapper that came on. I have nothing against the rapper, but it's just that, I don't think that we should be having a rap thing at halftime.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do agree with Ann on the fans on that perspective. When we were trailing in games, everybody was serious, everybody was focused, and there were times I didn't think that this group was that serious, because if you look at it from a football perspective, you're really, you got to be there with your team. And I feel like, unfortunately, and I'm not going to bash anybody on this, but I didn't feel like there were games where the student body was there for the Dragons. I didn't think so.
Do you think any of it has to do with the fact that they did win state championship last year, and that they maybe came out this year a little cocky, a little arrogant, thinking,
I don't think the players were cocky or arrogant at all. I think that the fans expected Lake Orion to win especially at home. They expected them to win every home game.
And even coming out of the gate against Oxford, who Lake Orion manhandled last year, to lose to them, that was a bit of a shocker.
It was all those games. They were even the Oxford game, they were in that game. I'm going to be honest with you, because like if you look at it next year, you know,
You
this
got to
is going to
give
be
credit to Oxford
very
for
different.
that game. Prescott
Well, Oxford
line.
went on to have some big wins this year.
Oxford did have some good wins. this
But
year.
you
They
got
had
to
a great
give
season.
credit to where credit's due.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you look at next year's team, you know, the secondary is a big issue as well. I mean, like if they can figure out the secondary
Limit the big plays.
limit the big plays, you know, because they had way too many big plays this year.
I think, you know, I think that they had a great. I think they had a good season. Maybe not
Yeah.
a great season, but I mean, you got to commend the senior class and the junior class for what they did this year. I think that they, you know, obviously they were a young team. They, you know, obviously having to go through the learning experiences like that, you know, and you know, sometimes you have to go through those things. They make you better in the long run.
And it's hard to top a championship year. You know what I mean? A Division I state
It
championship.
is. I mean, I'll take my example at Oakland, where you know I had to, you know, we went 17-1 in our league that year,
Yeah.
and then you win the tournament. Then the next year, no one expected us last year to go 17-1 again and win the tournament and go to the NCAA tournament,
Right.
and we happened to do that again. And I mean, it's just so hard to do.
It is.
It's
Very
really
much
a
is.
challenge to do.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I think nothing's ever easy in sports, you know, because like if you look at it from that perspective, I mean, like
Nothing's easy in life, period.
yes, I agree.
No
And-
guarantees in sports either. You think a last place team couldn't beat a first place team, and there's always
No,
upsets.
There always is, yeah.
All right. So final thoughts on what are you looking forward to most about the season next year for varsity football?
I think this team's got a lot of potential. I would say the big word is potential.
I think they'll be very hungry
But
next year.
they'll be hungry. They'll have a lot of potential. But you know the old saying, you can't live off potential. You got to get it done.
Got to see results.
This
Sam,
team has got to get it done next year. You know, I think if you look at next year, Troy Athens will still be good. Clarkson will be good in the red. I think, you know, if this team wants to get back to state championship game, they got to limit the big plays. They got to be much better on defense, and they got to execute offensively and limit the big plays and turnovers.
beautiful, beautiful. When we come back, we're going to talk World Series, some baseball free agency, and our viewer submitted question to our Facebook page. You're watching ONTV.
Can ONTV really change the way you see Orion? Can a community hold a talent show to raise mental health awareness?
ONTV, a part of Orion's history since 1986. Video classes are now enrolling. Call 248-693-3377 to reserve your seat today. A service of Orion Neighborhood Television. This is you, and this is your community. You have a great idea, but how do you get that idea to your community? ONTV has your answer. You see, ONTV is a part of your community. We help you get your idea on cable, so everyone you know will learn about your great idea. So, what are you waiting for? Get your idea on cable and into your community. Get your idea on TV.
Welcome back to our last segment today on Between Taorminas. And boys, I'm sorry, forgive me, but I didn't offer you a taste of the beverage. Would you like a sip?
No, thank you.
thank
But
you.
thank you for
No,
Sam?
asking.
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, we're good with that. Listen, we're going to talk a little MLB World Series, possibly get into the free agency market. There are some big fish in the pond this year with Pujols, Reyes, Prince Fielder. But let's talk about thoughts on the World Series, and we're going to go with Sam on this one first.
Good, great World Series, to be honest with you. If you look at it from that perspective, you know, got to give props to St. Louis Cardinals for what they did. You know,
Absolutely.
like Game 6 was, I think, the most dramatic game out of the entire World Series. I mean, like, if you look at it, because, like, Feliz Blues saved the ninth inning, and then, like,
How about Nelson Cruz when he could have caught that
he
ball?
could have, should have caught it.
Would have been over.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
That's what ended up happening.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
You like what you hear?
Texas should have won that game. You know, Texas should have won that series. But you know
St.
what?
Louis should not even have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
But
they had to
give
beat
credit
Atlanta.
to St. Louis.
Well,
I
Atlanta
mean,
collapsed. I mean, absolutely collapsed. On August 25th,
True.
the Cardinals were 10.5 games out of the wild
I agree.
card.
Yep.
Give credit to where credit's due, though, with St. Louis. You know, St. Louis had to win Game 6. Because had they, an interesting stat, St. Louis has never lost a Game 7 in the World Series if
Really?
they won Game 6.
Really? Mm-hmm. Now, the Cardinals lost Game 7 of the World Series to the Tigers in '68. They must not have won Game 6, though, huh? I don't remember, but I just know that the Cardinals lost Game 7 of the World Series in '68 to the Tigers.
Interesting stat.
I just saw that. It must have been a wrong interpretation from ESPN, I guess. Blame ESPN.
All right. You sure you don't need a drink of this?
No.
Okay. All right. So, obviously, one of the better World Series. I mean, going to Game 7. There's nothing better in sports than a Game 7 of the World Series. You know what I mean?
I think
yeah.
Tony La Russa's story, you know,
Yeah.
the fact that he went out on top is the greatest thing that you could ever write a story for.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that Tony La Russa won his second championship with St. Louis.
Yep. Third overall.
Third
right?
overall, yes, because they won with Oakland in 1989. You know, you just got to applaud the guy for what he did.
Yep,
And
for his career,
For his
for sure.
career. I mean, his career is legendary.
Yep.
It'll go out on top.
Yep.
It'll go out on top.
I was one of the greatest World Series of all time. I'm just gonna give Albert a lot of credit. You know, I gotta give Chris Carpenter credit. You know, for what he did
Warrior,
in Game 7. He's a warrior. You know.
David
But-
Freese.
Yep.
I just wish the Tigers were in the World Series and
I
not
do
the
too.
Rangers.
Yeah. Well, the Tigers. The talent is there.
Right.
The foundation is absolutely there. It's keeping players healthy,
I agree.
Yep.
especially Avila, and
Yeah.
building on that bullpen.
I
But
agree.
let's get into a little free agency talk. Where do you think Pujols will go next year?
You'll stay in St.
You
Louis
think so?
because like St. Louis, I think proved something. They can win the world. They can win another championship, and they need Pujols badly.
What about?
I think he'll stay in
you think
St.
he's
Louis.
staying?
He's
What-
certainly not going to New York or Boston.
No, probably not. What about Fielder, Prince Fielder?
Interesting call with him.
It really
I mean,
is.
if you look at it, I think he's going to leave Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, there's really New York and Boston, the two big money teams. They got their first baseman.
Yep.
You know, I mean, like,
I
I
think he's
really,
staying
I
shut.
can see him.
What about
I
a
can
DH?
see him going to. I can see him maybe going to the Cubs, maybe.
Well, the Yankees will definitely be in the market for a DH.
Oh yeah.
Jorge Posada, come on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see
That's
that
a sad
happening.
story
But I
going on in
think
New
I
York.
think Fielder's gonna be a Cub. To be honest with
You
you.
think he's gonna be a Cub?
I think he'll be a
With,
I
Cub.
think he's going to
Theo?
stay in Milwaukee.
You think he's staying in Milwaukee? I kind of do. I kind of either think Milwaukee or Yankees. You know, Milwaukee is a scary team.
Yes,
I
they are.
really thought they were going to clobber the Cardinals.
Yeah.
No.
They got that great home field advantage. I don't know. All right, talk Cubs, talk Fielder. What do you think about Jose Reyes?
I see him moving out of New York. I really can.
You do?
I mean, like,
I see David Wright moving out of New York.
Well, Reyes is a bigger name, bigger free
Right,
agent.
but still, I
He's gonna
see
command
David
a lot of
Wright.
money. Yeah,
I see David Wright moving out.
really. How do you,
I'd see
I'd
both
love
of
to
them
see him
coming
on the Tigers, but I doubt it's going to happen.
I can
that's
see
too
them
many.
both coming
That's
out.
too many $20 million men on the Tigers.
Right,
You know what I mean?
understandable. Yep.
Yeah. What about? How do you feel about this name, CC Sabathia? And
He
what?
re-signed with the
Right.
Yankees
How do
already.
you
He
feel?
just re-signed
How
with
do you
the
feel
Yankees.
about that? He's going to be there through. They got options through 2017. Do you not
You
think that's
gotta-
ridiculous?
That's ridiculous. You gotta increase. You gotta get.
He's getting old.
They gotta get a better rotation. They gotta get a better rotation.
They got-
I mean, like if you look at it, Burnett's not gonna cut it. You know, they got a couple.
Freddie Garcia.
Freddie
come on,
Garcia.
what is
You
this?
gotta really just. Oh my God.
He's just
Yeah.
staying put in New York.
Yeah.
I mean,
C.J. Wilson. You think they add another lefty? And C.J.
possible,
Wilson?
but we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
I
in
don't
the
think
offseason.
that's gonna happen. I know the Tigers will be in the market for a lefty.
I think C.J. Wilson's going to command too much money for what he's worth.
Right.
Quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll have obviously a lot more to talk about with the MLB coming up in the later months after the winter meetings and whatnot, and as free agency gets rolling. Very
Nothing like the
soon.
NBA lockout, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But we have a question submitted to our page, the Between Taorminas Facebook group. Just look her up on Facebook. You can be asked to join, and if we think you want to join, you can come on in. But the question this week comes from Jeb in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Ooh, this
Another
should
one of
be
your
fun.
friends, right?
not one of my friends. I did walk through Oral Roberts and saw the big hands.
All right. Well, he wants to know about Oral Roberts. He wants to know how Oral Roberts leaving the Summit League affects OU basketball.
I talked to Coach Campy yesterday.
Wow.
And he said it's not going to affect anything at all at Oakland, and I agree.
Okay.
I do feel that that Oakland is the class of the Summit League, and they
Absolutely.
have been for, I will argue and say, 3 years now.
Yeah.
That the fact that Oral Roberts is leaving for the Southland, good for them. They wanted to leave, so be it. I don't think the Southland offers more competition than the Summit.
Right.
But if they
Geographic location. Geographic location.
Geographically
You
makes
see it basically, the Summit League covers, you're going to have to go to Missouri, you got to go to North Dakota, South Dakota, and then you got to go to Michigan and Indiana, you know what I mean? If you look at it, I think the travel makes sense for Oral Roberts to leave. But if you look at it, they're giving up the rivalry with Oakland. They're giving up the rivalry with South Dakota State, North Dakota State, IUPUI, IPFW.
Yeah.
Basically from that perspective is that I think Oral Roberts is making the right move at the right time. And I think if you look at it now, the Summit League next year is either going to be Oakland, North Dakota State, or South Dakota State, or IUPUI or IPFW.
I think
A lot of options, huh?
I think that for Oakland, it's like good riddance to another team. Oakland will survive. We saw Valparaiso leave for the Horizon League a couple of years back. It's just good riddance for Oakland, just another opponent out of the way. Though I would like to see Oakland continue its rivalry with Oral Roberts, but we'll see how that goes.
So one sentence for Jeb. How does Oral Roberts affect OU? One sentence. Cap it off for Jeb.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay. There you go.
Nothing.
Sam? Nothing.
Nothing.
All right.
Nothing.
Good luck to them, huh? In Southland.
Hooray.
All right. Yeah, boys, any final thoughts today? We're coming to the closing time.
Well,
Any words of wisdom for the next week for the audience out there?
Well, if you look at it based on the Dragons, they gotta get ready for next year. You know what I mean, football-wise.
And we got basketball and volleyball.
Basketball, volleyball districts are coming up.
Wrestling.
Dragons got a favorable district
Wrestling.
in there, and
Never mind.
Any final thoughts?
I just encourage fans to come watch our show, to come out to Oscars,
Yes.
and and to follow our Facebook page at Between Taorminas.
All right.
And I just keep on encouraging those in Lake Orion and also throughout, not just the state of Michigan, but throughout the entire country to
All right.
follow our show.
There you go. Thank you very much to Oscars for another week here on location, and we'll see you next week for Between Taorminas on ONTV.